Hello, fellow YouTubers. This is the Imaginator. I'm here today to bring you guys ladies my One Piece manga chapter 1047 review. The title of this One Piece manga chapter is called "The Sky Over the Capital." The first is a glorious cover page of the Straw Hats at the beach, along with Momonosuke in his dragon form. Then it's the beginning of the chapter where Yamato he continues to encourage Momonosuke to make the fire clouds, and he said he can't, and he's starting to feel doubts about himself in performance that task. Then the flashback can you get the flashback starts. Well, his flashback starts, and his mother Toki was pretty much trying to tell him, her son, that you had to regain the glory of the Kozuki clan. After 20 years, once I set you 20 years into the future. And then Kinemon and of course, Monosuke was crying in tears. And Kinemon was saying, Monosuke, you shouldn't cry over what a woman's efforts in bringing the courage and making things happen is shameful for a guy to be crying when a woman is doing so much effort and etc. And he requests Monosuke if it's okay if we can lay down our lives, to protect, Wano. Monosuke regains his courage and he tells his mother, I'm ready, mother. And then his mother was in tears of joy saying, good. Then it's the continuation of Luffy and Kaido's battle. And Luffy, shown in the last chapter, actually grabbed a bolt of lightning and threw it at Kaido, which he called the technique Gum Gum Lightning. Kaido then some pretty much dodges the technique, I believe, and he hits Luffy with a club attack, a no-name club attack. And then he further goes on and mentions that the world's convenient that way. It's cool to have abilities. Like abilities, you can play around and have all the abilities that you want. And he goes on and says that Roger didn't have any food abilities or Delphi powers, and that hockey is the very power that transcends all. And he hits Luffy really hard with another non-name club attack. And then he uses his and now the third club attack he hits Luffy with is a name one called the Destroyer Donabagwa. After this, with the battle between Luffy and Kaido commences, Luffy actually, unnoticeably, Kaido actually holds on to Kaido, and Kaido's like, let go of me, you don't know the location, and then he uses another powerful technique, which I think was a much more enhanced ability than he used in the last chapter. It's the Dragon Twister Devilish and Gus. And there's like numerous of slashes, croissant power slashes going up to where Luffy is located. They pretty much says to Luffy, your weakness is still cutting attacks, I presume. And then some, if not all, the slashes connect to Luffy, will make contact with Luffy. Luffy's obviously agony and pain. And then we get to the people at the festival who are still celebrating, finally lifting up all their lanterns and hoping, wishing that the lanterns not only get to their deceased ones, but also they hope to live another year because they're still in Kaido's custody. Pretty much being invaded by Kaido. And then we get to Onigashima, inside the Onigashima, and we see that Hogoro is pretty much saying to himself, hey, if Luffy wins and beats Kaido, then we're just going to pretty much die. That'll be pretty much it. But if Kaido wins, if we survive, then that means Kaido has won. And then they all be triumphant and really cheering for Luffy with their enthusiastic attitude. And Kid is like, what's going on here? And then Usopp and company are pretty much getting the water that Jinbei and Reizo created in the last chapter, and also Orochi and Hiyori. Orochi's about to go for the kill and saying to himself, Odin, watch me, Odin, I'm going to take your daughter. And then finally, the last portion of the chapter where we have Luffy using his gigantic arm and hockey punch that he's about to use on Kaido, and then he tells Momonosuke to move Onigashima, so it won't be in the way. And Yamato is pretty much shocked, like, oh man, this is going to really, he's really going to punch a hole through Onigashima with this ginormous technique. And that's the end of the chapter. Overall, I thought the chapter was great. I liked the balance between the dialogue and fight. I have numerous chapters. I like the flashback of seeing Momonosuke's own like motivation. Where it all stems from. His mother telling him that you have to go for. You got. I know you're a kid, but you still gotta. You have a responsibility to avenge and pretty much uphold the Kozuki name, and the whole Kinemon speech to help brought forth that confidence to Momonosuke was awesome. I like that Yamato again is reinforcing the confidence for Momo to continue creating the fire clouds. And of course, the best part, well, not the best part, but I'll say I like the exchange between Luffy and Kaido's attacks. Again, further showing how powerful they are and how devastating their battle is. And I like the whole message that Kaido actually laid out, actually told Luffy that you can have all the abilities in the world, but only hockey can transcend all. So that pretty much further indicates that hockey is like the end all be all superior power, um, more so than adult fruit, which is very essential, to the overall power system in One Piece. Because again, you can have all the adult fruit abilities all you want, but if you don't have hockey in it, then you're not going to really stand out to be truly strong. Because Delph-Fruit is more like a non-natural strength or power / ability, where hockey is a natural ability. One that every living being has in their disposal. Then the whole festival. I loved that the citizens, even though they're at the mercy of Kaido, they're still having a good time and lifting up those lanterns and really showing the reader that there's still happiness there. Even though Kaido is pretty much ruling them and keeping them enslaved, they still have a moment of peace and joy. But they still try and think to themselves, I hope we live. Because Kaido can actually kill them or anytime he wants, really, or the pirate or the beast pirates overall in general. But I like that they're happy and they got the lanterns out and still wishing giving their wishes to their deceased ones. Then we get the people of Onigashima. It was kind of weird for Hagoromo's reverse psychology when he said that we will die if Luffy wins, and if we survive, then Kaido will win. So I thought that was kind of bizarre. It should be like the opposite, that if we survive, Luffy will win, and then if we all die, Kaido wins. What means that Kaido will win? I don't know, that was kind of the weirdest part for me in the chapter. But regardless, though, those of us who the reader can understand, the current position of the story and what is actually going on, that bypasses Hogoro's words. If it's a reverse psychology thing, or pretty much see through the reverse psychology behind Hogoro's words. And then the best part and my favorite part of the chapter is when Luffy uses the ginormous fist, arm and hockey punch that he's about to deliver on Kaido. And you can see everybody's like kind of freaked out. Even Kaido's kind of slightly shocked and freaked out, but he's not as worried or frightened as Yamato and Momonosuke. And then Luffy is about to go ahead and defeat Kaido it's going to most likely defeat Kaido with this gigantic, fist technique. And it's most likely Luffy's most powerful and strongest technique in his arsenal. Alright, so that's it of my One Piece is Manga Chapter 1047 review. I believe this is my longest review yet of One Piece manga that I've done. Uh, like the video if you like the video. Comment your thoughts down below. Subscribe to my channel to Imagine for more Manga Chapter reviews, anime discussions, and many more. With all that being said, my fellow YouTubers, y'all all have a wonderful day.